Hari Om and welcome to this webinar. I'm grateful to Swami Chidananda ji for this opportunity to be able to interact with you. I'm also grateful to all the great masters and acharyas who have given me this eligibility, this yogyata to make this presentation. The topic I have chosen is the greatness of the Bhagwad Gita. Personal growth in all aspects has been an area of great interest for me. Over the years, I've read and studied the works of several modern Western authors, which have been a source of great inspiration. A few years ago, I was invited to speak at a Gita Jnana Yajna. Swami Brahmananda ji of Chinmay Mission in Bangalore invited me to do so, and I soon realized that I knew very little that I could share. This forced me to make a systematic study of the Bhagwad Gita. I soon realized that no book, no author that I studied so far had such a transformative impact on me. Each time I study the Gita, the same verses now have a much deeper impact on me than before. What is so great about the Bhagavad Gita? Now, the Gita is scripture. Another word for scripture is gospel. Another word is also a testament. The way you read a scripture is different from the way you read any other book of knowledge. And that is why a certain quality, which is very difficult to translate, this Sanskrit word is difficult to translate, called Shraddha. Shraddha means a form of an unconditional trust. The word gospel means that which has been spelled out by God. The word testament means that which has been verified, that which has been testified. So we are reading something that has been testified by God, and it is that trust. And therefore, if there is some area of the Gita or the scripture that you are not able to comprehend, or it does not appeal to your reason, it means I have not yet been able to understand. It is not the fault of the scripture, it is the fault of my understanding. The Bhagavad Gita is 700 verses in Sanskrit, divided in 18 chapters. Each verse has to be studied under the guidance of a qualified traditional teacher. The Gita is in verse form and therefore can be sung in a particular tune. And all teachers encourage you to study the original, because once it is translated, the musical form is lost. The Bhagwad Gita is part of the Mahābhāratha composed by Veda Vyāsa in the form of a dialogue between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Just as democracy is of the people, for the people, and by the people, the Gita has been composed by a householder, a grihastha, Veda Vyāsa, for a householder, Arjuna, and delivered by a householder, Lord Krishna himself. It is a user's manual for a person steeped in worldly issues. Ādi Shankarāchārya has written a commentary on the Bhagwad Gita, and he points out that the Bhagwad Gita is the essence of all the Vedas, and therefore a thorough study of the Bhagwad Gita is as good as studying the entire scriptural literature. The Indian scriptural literature is very vast, and Krishna and Veda Vyāsa have made a condensation. That's why the Bhagwad Gita is also called Sarvopanishado Gavo Dogda Gopala Nandana. The Gita deals with several topics, like karma yoga, like bhakti, like meditation or dhyana yoga, about ethical values. But Ādi Shankarāchārya in his commentary clearly points out that the central theme of the Gita, in Sanskrit the central theme is called Tātparyam. The Tātparyam of the Bhagwad Gita is self-knowledge. Who am I? As Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi says, Nan Yar. And if you are able to discover who you are, and that becomes a means for liberation. When we talk about liberation, or when we use the word moksha, the question is liberation from what? Freedom from what? Now, we will say it is freedom from bondage, popularly referred to in the Indian languages as samsara. Bondage means any form of limitations, any form of restriction, any form of confinement. Nobody, even a small child, does not like any form of restrictions. And if a child is told not to do something, the child is very intrigued, motivated to see why he or she should not do that something. All of us experience limitations all the time. As a body, we are limited. As emotions, we are limited. Intellectually, we are limited. Resource-wise, money-wise, space-wise, we are limited. This limitation is called bandhaha or bondage. And all the time we use all the means in our hands to be able to overcome these limitations. We wish to be in charge of our lives. Many things that we don't like happen, and many things that we want to happen do not happen. And when this happens, we get emotionally affected. We get angry, we get upset. And when this goes on for a certain period of time, we get depressed, dejected, and we lose all enthusiasm to continue on with life. Now, this is the typical mindset of a person struggling with multidimensional issues like work issues, family issues, society. And it is very nicely portrayed by what Arjuna went through in the first chapter of the Bhagwad Gita. Arjuna is a portrayal of a person who is extremely accomplished, who's waiting for that opportunity, that moment when he's able to show his great accomplishments. But because of certain emotional, overwhelming issues, he is just not able to perform. And he has the same feeling that many of us sometimes go through, that I'm not going to succeed, I don't wish to live anymore, I would like to run away from life. Now, the first chapter of the Bhagwad Gita is primarily to introduce to us who's the teacher, who's the student, and gradually for us to be able to identify with Arjuna. The identification should be so clear that the message of Krishna is now no longer for Arjuna. The message is from Sri Krishna directly to each one of us. And that is why whenever Krishna uses the word, O Partha, O Kaunteya, O Dhananjaya, O Anaga, O Bharata, O Pandava, any one of those names should now refer to our names. Now, when somebody refers to you by name, you jump. You say, what is it? Now, those words that Arjuna is referred to should now become your names. Like most Indian scriptures, Krishna begins his teaching with a bang. He comes to the point directly. Right in the beginning of the second chapter, when Krishna begins his teaching, he wants Arjuna to quickly get back to the battlefield, and he begins with Jnana Yoga, the wisdom of who am I, Nana Yar. Krishna tries to convey to Arjuna as clearly as possible by saying, Arjuna, you are not this limited body-mind complex. You are something higher. You are this consciousness principle. The body-mind is only a means for you to be able to interact with the world. And therefore, don't identify with the limitations of the body-mind complex. The second chapter is a beautiful summary of the entire Bhagwad Gita. Those who have studied the Bhagwad Gita and those who are our teachers of the Bhagwad Gita would like to point out something which is the Tatparyam or the main message of the Bhagwad Gita, which is the same as the Mahavakya of the Chandogya Upanishad. The Chandogya Upanishad has a certain Mahavakya or the great equation. The equation says, Tatir Tvam Asi. Now, what does this mean? Which means that the essential nature of each one of us and the essential nature of Bhagwan or the Lord is just the same. Now, if I am already that, if I have the divinity in me, I'm not able to experience that. Why is that we do not feel that? The teachers say, although we are already that, there are certain blocks that prevent us from being able to manifest our true divinity. And teachers have classified the blocks into three. It is just like your water tank is full of water, but when you open the tap, there is no water. That means there must be a block in between. And they say there are three blocks. And if I can use the Sanskrit word, the three blocks are called Mala, Vikshepaha, and Avarana. Mala means impurity. And where does this impurity lie? One of the Upanishads called the Amrita Bindu Upanishad begins in a very nice way. It says Mana eva manushyanam karana bandha mokshaye. Your mind can be the cause of your bondage. The same mind can be the cause of freedom itself. How does this mind become the cause of bondage? All our mind has got a certain glue. The glue is whenever you see something nice, like a small child sees a toy somewhere, the child wants it and wants it so badly and makes an expression, without that I will not be happy. Now this wanting is called karma. And if the want is fulfilled, there is a set of problems. If the want is not fulfilled, there is another set of problems. Now for want of time, this impurity or mala are the 6 basic impurities, beginning with kama, called kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya. Now, the scriptures not only make a diagnosis, they also give a certain therapy. And the therapy for mala is karma yoga. I will come to it in a short while. The second block is called vikshepaha. Vikshepaha also refers to our mind. Our mind is so constructed that we are all focused into the world outside. Again, it is in the beginning of the 2nd chapter of the Katha Upanishad, there is a very powerful, a very strong verse against the Creator, which is Paranchikani Vyatarnat Swayambhuhu. Swayambhuhu means the Creator. Swayambhuhu means the self-born. Vyatarnat means destroyed. The self-born, or the Bhagwan, has done some great mistake. The Upanishad says, all our sense organs are focused outside. The eyes look outside, the ears look outside, our skin feels everything outside. Now, as a neurosurgeon, I can say that there are many times we do certain operations under local anesthesia, because once we open the skin and the bones and we reach the brain can be cut, the brain can be burnt, we can do whatever with the brain, and the person has no sense of pain or any discomfort, because all the sense organs are outside. And when the real treasure is within, that is why this verse says, Paranchikani Vyatarnat Swayambhuhu. It is only the courageous few who have the ability to temporarily or for cut off the world outside and focus inside. This ability to focus within and stop the turbulence of the mind requires another sadhana called Upasana Yoga. And the third block is called Avarana. Avarana means although we are the reservoir of peace, security, and happiness, we are the reservoir of all forms of completeness. We are not aware of it because this treasure within us is covered. And how do we discover it? This cover has to be removed by going to an acharya who's able to teach you. And when you have the right state of mind, the teacher is able to tell you the same Mahābhāratha, my dear student, you are already that. Tat Tvam Asi. Now, the Bhagwad Gita has got 18 chapters. The 18 chapters have been divided into 3 sets. The first set is called Pratama Shatkam. Pratama means the first set of 6. And then you have the Madhyama Shatkam, the middle 6, and the Charama or the Antima Shatkam. And if you will see, there are certain distinct topics in the Pratama, Madhyama, and the Charama Shatkam of the Gita. And it slowly builds on one to another. The Bhagwad Gita, right in the 2nd chapter, Krishna begins to tell about Tvam. If you have the Mahābhāratha, Tat Tvam Asi, first 6 chapters predominantly focus on Tvam. What is my true nature? And Krishna very clearly says our true nature is not the body, but the consciousness or the indweller within the body, which uses the body-mind to express. And in so many ways and in so many beautiful ways, Krishna clarifies as to the true nature about myself or the Tvam Padartha. The first 6 chapters also say that in order to accomplish your spiritual growth of Parama Purushartha or Moksha, you need to put your effort, Prayatna. Prayatna means consistent effort in a specific direction is very important. And without your effort, spiritual growth does not happen just by itself. The first 6 chapters talk about a certain sadhana called Karma Yoga. Now, what is the sadhana? A sadhana is a spiritual technique. A sadhana helps a sadhaka, who is the seeker, to reach his goal, which is the sadhyam, and become a siddha. A siddha means an accomplished person. Therefore, to repeat again, a sadhaka uses a sadhana to reach his goal, the sadhyam, and become a siddha. So the first 6 chapters talk of the sadhana of karma yoga. And what is karma yoga? All of us work, and all of us work very hard. Now, when you work hard, technically it is called being a karmi. When does work become a yoga? 2 things, right action and right attitude. Right action is if your actions are predominantly selfless, predominantly sattvic action, and the right attitude is 2 things, and if I can use Sanskrit terms, it is called Ishvara Arpana Bhava and Prasada Bhava. Ishvara Arpana Bhava means whatever work I'm doing it as an offering to someone I love, as an offering to my beloved, as an offering to God. And when you are doing it for someone you love, there is really no effort. It happens relatively effortlessly, and you give your very best. That is what is called Ishvara Arpana Bhava. And for every action that you do, you have a certain compensation. You have a certain reward that comes. And how do you accept whatever you get? You treat it as prasada. When you go to a place of worship, you're given a prasad, and how do you receive it? Very reverentially. You don't compare it with the prasada of some other temple. You don't compare it to what someone else is getting. And if you're able to treat your work as Ishvara Arpana Bhava, Prasada Bhava, that is called the right attitude. If you're able to do predominantly selfless form of work, predominantly sattvic work, this is called Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is the treatment for the first block called Mala, which deals with Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya. So even if you go to an ashram where you have a great teacher, an accomplished teacher who can teach you for years, the teacher will subject you to doing certain work called Karma Yoga. And when you work over a period of time, internally certain changes happen in your mind, and this becomes a certain yogyata for knowledge. That completes the first shatkam. The second shatkam starts from the 7th chapter onwards. Just like the first shatkam dealt with Tvam Padartha, as to who am I, Krishna, without waiting for any question from Arjuna, right now declares, Arjuna, now I will give you my true nature. I will let you know who I am. And this chapter talks about 2 forms of Bhagwan called the Para Prakriti, the higher form, and the lower form, or Apara Prakriti. Over a period of time, the Bhagwad Gita slowly gives you a certain evolution in the concept of what God is. Now, all of us see a wonderful creation. If there is such a beautiful creation, so the inference is there must be an extraordinary and intelligent creator. And because I don't see the creator anywhere around, I put him, he must be there. I put him far away. And this far away location of Bhagavan is called Paroksha. So initially I think of a creator, an intelligent creator, but who's not nearby, but who's able to listen to me, but he's there, far away. But as the child grows in this level of understanding, and the child begins to really question the parents, the child can ask some very difficult questions. And one difficult question is, I will agree with you, for a beautiful creation, there must be a creator. But then who created the creator? And that's where we get lost. We are not able to answer that question. Another difficult question a child may ask is, in the beginning, God alone was. There was no creation. Now, with what material did God bring out the whole creation? Let me tell you a story told by one of the great teachers of mine. A certain sculptor was making a statue of Ganesha out of clay. And as the statue was finishing, he called the master to come and give his approval. The master came and saw Ganesha, and then he suddenly asked him, Ganesha is fine, but where is the mouse? He said, oh, I forgot. And as there was a lot of clay still available around the stomach region of Ganesha, he took a little bit of the soft clay and corrected the patch which he has taken it out from, and then molded it out and made it the mouse. Now, in this shatkam, The apara prakriti, which is considered the lower form of God, is actually the material form of God. So the material that you see, the matter principle that you see, is actually an extension of Bhagwan. Now we evolve from paroksha to pratyaksha. That means this camera that is facing in front of me and everything that I can experience through my form is none other than Bhagwan in pratyaksha form. From now on, I don't have to go to Tirupati or I don't have to go to Kailash to see Bhagwan. I need to have that sensitivity to see that everything, including the chair that I'm seated on, is nothing else but Bhagwan itself. And that is how from the 7th to the 12th chapter, there is a certain evolution. And in the 11th chapter, you have a manifestation of Vishwarupa Ishvara. So from Ekarupa, we have gone to Anekarupa or Vishwarupa. The second talks about the Tat Padartha, or what is God. The second set of chapters also, like the first set of 6 chapters, spoke about the importance of effort. The next 6 chapters talk about the importance of grace, the ability to be able to download grace. Whenever a person is egoistic, whenever a person is proud, whenever a person feels that I am doing it, it is difficult to access grace. On the other hand, if a person is very humble and he feels that even though he's very talented and has got great abilities, none of these are really mine, but I owe it to the higher forces to be able to have. And if you have this attitude, you're able to download grace. One of my teachers have told a nice story, and I'd like to share this about 2 friends who went through first year MBBS, studied together. They were all together. Both of them passed in anatomy and physiology. Unfortunately, both of them failed in biochemistry. They applied to the university for retotaling and reevaluation. One of the 2 got grace marks and passed, whereas the other did not get grace marks and he failed. Now, he was very upset. He approached the court and said, this is very unfair. The university has given grace only to my friend, grace marks to my friend. I could not get grace marks. He's going ahead and I'm left behind. So the judge asked the boy who appealed to him, he says, how many marks did your friend get? He said 47 out of 100. What is a pass mark? 50. How much grace marks the university gave him? 3. How much marks did you get? He said 3. And the judge looks at him and says, in order to be able to access grace, you must be grace worthy. So this set of 6 chapters tell us how you need to be humble to be able to access grace. So the next 6 chapters talked about Tat Padartha. It speaks about how to access grace, and the sadhana of these chapters is called Upasana. And one of the most important aspects of Upasana involves bhakti, involves meditation. And the word bhakti means love, love diverted to a higher principle. Bhakti can happen only if you have a more clearer understanding of God. And that is the evolution from the 7th chapters to the 12th chapters. And then comes the last shatkam. The last shatkam is the last 6 chapters, beginning with the 13th chapter. While you have a very pleasant flow of all the verses when you're dealing with bhakti in the 2nd shatkam, the moment you come to the 13th chapter, you have some difficulty, because here you are dealing with jnana, and jnana yoga is always difficult. It is like climbing uphill. In jnana yoga, Krishna begins to teach that your essential nature and the essential nature of the Lord is one and the same. The example given is of the wave and the ocean. What is the essential aspect of the wave? It is water. What is the essential aspect of the ocean? It is water. Now, what is the difference? The name and the form. But the essence is one and the same. And that is why Krishna wants us to dissociate the name and form being the body, and to be able to identify with the essence. That is what is called the water, or here it is called consciousness. So this is Jnana Yoga. And the Jnana Yoga is given in the form of a teaching through Shravanam, Mananam, and Nidithyasana, through various forms of teaching. So the sadhana, the next 6th chapter, is called Jnana Yoga. The next important aspect of the next 6 chapters is about values. The third verse of the 13th chapter is called Kshetragnam Chapi Mam Vidhi Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. The most important thing that you need to know is the distinction between the observer and what you observe. And Krishna begins to say, Kshetragnam, the one who knows everything, the one who is able to experience everything around him, is Chapi Mam Vidhi. Vidhi means to know. The knower is none other than me. Now, this verse is therefore called a Mahāvākya verse. Therefore, the one who's speaking through me is none other than Shri Krishna himself, and the one who's listening and one who's watching through that power, the one power that gives you the ability to see. And that divine force is the one and the same. Now, then there is about values. So the last 3 chapters talk about Jnana Yoga. It talks about values, and now what happens when you go through this understanding? We will learn few things. We will learn to accept the limitations of our body and mind, and to realize, although the body and mind is mine, I am not the body and mind, and therefore the limitations of the body are the limitations of the body, the limitations of the mind are the limitations of the mind, and it is not my limitations. And then what do? Swami Anubhavananda has given a nice example. He says, where are you from? He says, you're from Karnataka. So what you should do, you should Karnatak. When you wake up in the morning, the first thing you realize is, I, the Parabrahma Paramatma, temporarily enter into this body, and this body, each one of us have got clearly distinct roles to play as per the direction, as per the director's instruction, and that we need to follow cheerfully, 100% and well, all the time realizing that I am someone other than the body, and this is a role play. Then what we get to do, we live our lives sincerely, 100%, and there is no seriousness in anything that we do. Now, this is the beauty of the whole Bhagwad Gita. The whole Bhagwad Gita, the beauty of the Bhagwad Gita is its essential simplicity. Although it is in Sanskrit, which is a language many of us are not able to understand, of all the scriptural literature that we have, the Bhagwad Gita has a very beautiful simplicity. There is a nice story about when Veda Vyāsa had the inspiration to write the Mahābhāratha. He wanted someone who could write very quickly and fast. And he requested Lord Ganesha if he will be the scribe, if he will be able to write. Lord Ganesha said, I will do it, but there is one condition. And Veda Vyāsa said, what is it? He says, you have to continually give me the dictation. The moment you stop, I will stop writing. So Veda Vyāsa said, yes, I will agree to that, but you are no ordinary stenographer. I want you to be able to understand every verse before you write. So that was their deal. So once in a while, when Sri Veda Vyāsa had an inspirational block, it is said he will give a googly verse. He will give a very cryptic verse, and Lord Ganesha has to break his mind to say, what is he trying to say? And while he's breaking his head on and trying to understand, Veda Vyāsa has his inspiration to be able to write many more. I would like to conclude with a few things which I really like about the Bhagwad Gita. And one of them is the brilliant questions of Arjuna and the super brilliant answers by Lord Krishna. And one of the beautiful questions which would appeal to all of us is, Arjuna says, I know what is right, I know what is wrong, I know I should not commit a sin, and yet there is some force in me that makes me do what is wrong. And Krishna answers, he says, it is because kama esha, krodha esha. You still are not able to control your mind. You're not able to control your sense organs. That is why wherever you talk about the Bhagavad Gita, you see a picture of those 4 horses driving a chariot, where the reins are controlled by Sri Krishna and the passenger is Arjuna. This is very symbolic, and this symbolism is also called the Ratha Kalpana, which has been explained very well in the Kathopanishad. The body is this chariot. Our body is symbolized as the chariot. The horses are our sense organs, which are rearing to go towards the various sense objects. The reins which control the horses represent our mind. And Arjuna did something super brilliant by putting in Shri Krishna as the driver. And Shri Krishna says, Mat Paraha, can you put me on the driver's seat? Whenever you put the Lord on the driver's seat, your decision making is very clear, and then you know what is right, and then you also do what is right. Another very brilliant question and a super brilliant answer comes in the second chapter around verse 53, where Arjuna has a doubt. Is there a person who has steady wisdom? We have wisdom once in a while, but a person of a steady wisdom, and this is called a sthita prajna. If there is such a person, can you give me a description of such a person? How does he stand? How does he walk? How does he talk? And again, if I can use the word super brilliant, the answer of Arjuna from Krishna replies is from verse 54 to up to the end, to verse 72. But the first line, he gives the answer complete. And the verse goes like this: Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogata atman evatmana tushtaha sthita prajna tu uchyate. Such a person is called a sthita prajna, in whom no desires arise in his mind. He's so complete, he's so purna because of the Atma, because of Atma Jnanam. He knows who he is. He knows that he is complete. One or two more issues that I would like to say. Krishna is a great advertiser. Whenever he begins a chapter, he tells Arjuna in no uncertain terms, Arjuna, look, I'm going to tell you the greatest secret, the royal secret. Listen well, and knowing which you get full fulfillment, you become Purna. The chapter, the 16th chapter, the whole Bhagwad Gita concludes in the 15th chapter. The 15th chapter is like the peak of the Bhagwad Gita. And there, in the peak of the 15th chapter is also called the Purushottama. The Purushottama, also Uttama Purusha, who is the best person. Now, so many people, so many of us are listening to it. The question for you is, who is the best person here? And I'm sure all of us are very clear. The most important person in the world here is you yourself. You are the most important person in the world. And how did this message come to us? There is a very nice Arabic story. And the story says that, sometime just before a child is born, and I often ask obstetricians whether that is really true. It is said there is a moment just before the birth of the child when the child's heartbeat undergoes a certain variations. It undergoes certain ectopics. Either the heart rate suddenly comes down, it goes into a flurry of heart rate. And it is this moment when the child misses a beat, because the Bhagwan, the Lord, comes and tells each one of us before you come into the world, you know what? I'm going to tell you a secret. I love you the most. And whom do we love the most? We love ourselves the most. About this, every person needs to be very clear. We love ourselves the most. And why does Bhagwan say, I love you the most? Because Bhagwan is coming into ourselves. So Bhagwan also loves himself the most. And in the 15th chapter, the whole effort is to understand who's Purushottama. And the words he uses, Yo mam eva asammudoho janati Purushottama. Who knows this Purushottama very clearly? The word he uses is asammudaha. Muda means a fool. Sammuda means big fool. Asammuda means a wise person. That wise person who knows me so completely, and he concludes in that chapter was, Iti guhyatamam shāstram. I'm giving you this great secret. And if you know this, you know everything. You have krita kritasya. You become purna. You become complete. But then there is a hitch. If you know that you are me, if you know that you are Purushottama, but then he suddenly has a doubt and he uses the word anaga. Anaga means one who's free from sin, one who's completely untaintable. And that is why Krishna immediately starts the 16th chapter by saying, Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. There is enough of Makh in us, there is enough of the devil in us, there is also the divine in us. The word Hindu means Hinam Nashayate iti Hindu. A Hindu is one who is able to extract the devil in him, to be able to crush it, like what Nataraja has done. Nataraja is dancing on a demon that he's been able to extract from himself. And that is the whole effort of every spiritual seeker. And that is why the last Shatkam focus very much on values. Oh Arjuna, is this going to be an information or is it going to be a transformation? Only if you are a person of values, then you will be able to get it. So the last Shatkam talks about three things. About Jnana Yoga, who's my real nature. About values. And Jnana Yoga essentially is Tat Tvam Asi. There is one more final conclusion that I would like to say. And this conclusion has come in the last verse of the second chapter. The second chapter concludes in another very brilliant way, where Krishna says, Yesha Brahmi Sthiti Partham Nainam Prapya Vimuhyate. Once you have clearly understood this, you have attained to Brahmi Sthiti. You have attained to the state of godliness. And once you have attained this, it is like learning the knack of swimming or cycling. Nainam prapya vimuhyate. You are no longer going to be deluded. You're no longer going to be confused. You're no longer going to fall down from this state. And then he says, Stista antakale, towards the end, when you come to the end of your life, you move into Brahma Nirvana. Now, the Bhagwad Gita is a great manual that prepares you to live and to live well. And it also prepares you to die. And how to die? To die in the sense of Purnatvam. To die in a state when you can be having a top of the world feeling, and yet you're not able to feel one bit upset that you're going to leave this body. Ādi Shankarāchārya and the Bhajagovindam has said, Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadita Ganga Jalava Kanika Pita Shadritvape Yena Murari Samarcha Kriyate Tasya Yamena Na Charcha. That means, if you have understood the Bhagavad Gita, if you have got the essence of the Bhagavad Gita, you have moved from Asato ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso ma Jyotirgamaya, Mrityor ma Amritam Gamaya. There is no more death for such a person. You have moved into immortality. Om Purnamada. Thank you very much. I'm open for any questions if you have. Am I audible?
Yes, yes. There is a question. Sachin Chaure. Yes, Sachin ji, you can ask question.
Yes, Sachin.
Hello, Sachin ji can ask question. I think yes.
Sachin, if you can't speak, can you text your question?
There is Ramesh Thali. Yes, Mr. Ramesh, you can ask question.
Yeah. Doctor, I have a question. At the beginning, you said we should not take ourselves very seriously. And in your profession, how do you apply that?
even though I said don't take anything seriously, I said we need to be sincere. Sincere is whatever I'm expected to do, we do it 100%. By seriousness means that you make yourself extremely tense. You're not able to relax in any situation. A person who really understood the whole context, it's just like in a game. In a game, you would like to win, you would like to play intensely, but you know all the time it is a game. This does not negate the importance of the lives of people that we handle, because we are still committed to doing 100% for our patients. And I know as doctors and as neurosurgeons, we have a very life and death responsibility with all our patients. So in that way, if a surgeon becomes very serious, then what happens is his functional ability comes down. That is why they say a doctor should not sometimes operate on his own family members, because you tend to become very subjective. You tend to take it more seriously than you're supposed to be, because you are more concerned about what will happen, and that will affect your performance.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
There are text questions. Can you open the question please?
You open the question.
You click at the small arrow on the question pane.
I'll just read it. Thanks for a wonderful summary. My question is, how does one know his or her purpose in life? Just the fact that I'm a doctor and helping others, is it a good purpose to presume that is my life's purpose? That is okay as far as karma yoga is concerned. But then, according to our scriptures, and the Bhagwad Gitā also brings it out very indirectly, there are 4 purusharthas, which is called dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Of all these purusharthas, we have one called the parama purushartha. As human beings, we need to really value our life so much, as it is said in Viveka Chudamani, 3 things are a rarity. To be born as a human being, Manushutvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahāpurusha. Now, we have the grace of so many wise, enlightened teachers around us. So, Mahāpurushas are there, Manushutvam is there, and these teachers are able to give us the true purpose in life. I have no hesitation in saying that the real purpose of life, or the only purpose in life that we need to be committed to, is to be able to discover our complete fulfillment, that we are divine, to have the real understanding of these Mahavakyas, Tattvamasi. That is the purpose of our life. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is only to lead us into Parama Purushartha. Working as a doctor, being committed to your patients, purifies the mind. It gives you jnana yogyata. And over a period of time, through bhakti, through shraddha, through various meditational techniques, the mind becomes more quietened. As I said, the vikshepa, the restlessness of the mind comes down. It is at this stage that we need to necessarily go to a teacher. And without a teacher, without a guide, our life is going to be relatively purposeless. In the Mundaka Upanishad, there is a very nice verse says that Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirvedya maya nasti krata kritena. Then it goes Gurum eva abhigachet samitpani shrotriya brahmanishta. That means, as you're working in life, at some stage we need to do this exactly what you have asked this question, Pariksha Lokan. Now, I've been working as a doctor for so many years. I've done so much work. What is that I have really accomplished? Pariksha Lokan Karmachitan Brahmana. Brahmana means a wise person who asks these difficult questions. Then Tad Vijnartham, before that, Nirvedyam. Nirvedyam means, what is that I have acquired really? And when you really realize that, you come to a state of vairagya, a sense of a true detachment from this world, and that's when you go to an acharya, to a teacher. You surrender to a teacher. When you take a samitpani, means your whole past, your whole samsaras, you take it to a teacher and you surrender to a teacher. And what kind of a teacher? A Shrotriya Brahmanishta. A Brahmanishta means who's anchored in Bhagwan, who's anchored in the truth. And Shrotriya is one who's able to communicate it to you. And believe me, we have many such acharyas available. The problem is not that there is a deficiency of teachers. We have too many of them. We have many of them. But we are not yet being sensitive to be able to realize these teachers. And once you go to the teachers then take you on to help you, to guide you towards your Parama Purushartha or Moksha. We have one more question. Can I read this? Where are the places where I can find a traditional guru for the teaching of the verses at a beginning level, Dr. Hegde? And what are the criteria of finding a good teacher? How do you find a good teacher? Shall I give you an answer what has been told to me? Now, see, when we have a state of ignorance, we are not able to find the right teacher. So the traditional teaching is, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Let that quest be in us, I want this. I want to get this knowledge. And when the quest is very clear, more than you looking for a teacher. See, when you look for a teacher, it is possible that for every right teacher, there are multiples of false teachers who can be misleading. And that is the problem in the path of spirituality. For a student, it is very difficult to say who is the right teacher and who is the wrong teacher. So the traditional teacher is saying, keep that quest burning and alive in you. And when you are ready, the impossible happens. The teacher comes to you. The teacher will discover you. So that's what I would like to say. There is a thin line between reaching for the skies and obsessive compulsion in one's execution. Your comments. That is very true. I would agree there is a very thin line in, I'm going to the same question, being very obsessive about whatever you're doing. That is why, again, we need a guru, we need an acharya. Otherwise, we think what we're doing is absolutely right. It is a guru. A guru is like a great batsman like Virat Kohli or Sachin Tendulkar will also have a coach. Will the coach be, a coach is able to see a person objectively. And even though these people are great, a coach is able to see and be able to guide you to even higher levels of perfection. And that is why I will say this fine line between being obsessive and whatever you said will be possible through the guidance of a teacher. Sir, I liked your example of grace marks, especially that we need to be doing enough to get grace marks. Thanks to my teachers, I can not thank my teachers enough. Everything and every word and every example, everything that I've said belongs to my teachers. Nothing belongs to me. I'm only putting them all together. So I have no claims to any right to any of these examples or any of the teachings. And that is the richness of our parampara. How do you know we are ready to receive grace? Even if I've begun to see prasada buddhi as real, what do I do to support a loved one who is still not feeling prasada buddhi? How do I support a loved one? Difficult. See, most of our spiritual teaching is more selfish. Selfish in the sense that work primarily on yourself. And when you are able to accomplish, you become a blessing to the place where you're born, and to the blessing to all the people. And through the blessings that you have got, you bring about a transformation. It is extremely difficult to change anybody else. Of course, through prayer, through intention, you can help. But let the focus be primarily, even though it may look selfish, primarily on yourself. Work on yourself. And when these understanding becomes clear, so clear to you, then you are a blessing to all the people near you, and then they transform when you transform. Can you read the next question for me? Is it possible to attain nirvana on a permanent basis? I feel we can attain to it to a certain degree, not on a continuous state. Good news or bad news? Bad news. The bad news is this is all or none. It is all or none. It is either you have got it, or you are in a various, you have a certain yogyata for it. Again, about this, in the 6th chapter of the Gita, there is a question that Arjuna asks. See, I am on the spiritual path, and I have done so much of efforts, but supposing I die before I attain, what will happen to me? And Krishna says, don't worry. When you are born to the next life, you continue from where you are. He brings a nice concept of what is called a yoga brashta. A yoga brashta is one who has done all these spiritual exercises and is on the verge of enlightenment, like Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi. Now, probably he just missed it in the last life, and he was all ready and to be able to manifest it in this life. So, any questions? Does our literature suggest why our souls have to endure this life? Why we bring a part of God? God wants to follow this earthly path and explore the experiences that we go through. Yes, our scriptures talk about what is called prarabdha. What is prarabdha? Prarabdha means every act that we do, a good act produces punya, a bad act produces papa. So that's why they say be very conscious in whatever action that you do, because every action has a certain consequence. A good action brings about punya, a bad action produces papa. Now, the results of our punya and papa are classified into 3. One is called the sanchita. The sanchita is the sum total of all our punyas and papa, and this is it's a huge bundle because you have lived a lot of lives, and this is kept somewhere. I do not know where. For the time being, we'll call it the cloud data or the sanchita. And then, when this being is born into this life, the karma paladata, the intelligent being, from our huge quota of sanchita, selects a certain amount of punya, a certain amount of papa, which is our capital for this life, and bundles it and gives it as our opening account. So from the time of birth to the time of our death, we live out our punya and papa. That is why if something wonderful has happened in your life, it is part of your punya. If something terrible has happened, it is part of papa and abhay. As we go along life, we also incur certain good deeds and bad deeds. Now this is called agami karma. And the agami karma acts on, it can manifest itself in this life, or it can go back to our sanchita data. Now that is what is said in our scriptures, and therefore, now it looks like bad news that I have no choice. The teacher says no. Now if you are able to get Brahma Vidya, if you can able to get this clear distinction between body-mind, because it is the body-mind that goes through all this karma. The real you is free from all karma. If that knowledge becomes very clear, as Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa could tell his wife Sharada when he's dying, what is dying is my clothes, it is my periphery. I'm okay, I'm deathless, nothing is going to happen to me. Now this understanding in the Mahavakya, And when you have this understanding, it is said, just like cancer can burn radiation cells, jnanam can burn all your punya and papa. And this prepares you to another form of mukti. While you are alive, it is called Jivan Mukti. And once you are dead, there is no more bank account for you to live again. So you get Videha Mukti. One more question, which we'll call it the last question. What will be the status of the self during sleep and when a patient is on anesthesia? Now, what is the self requires a very special, coaching class, and that is why I will recommend for all spiritual students to go through Tattva Bodha under the guidance of a teacher. Unless we go through the basic manual for spirituality called Tattva Bodha, otherwise the self always becomes confused. The self we talk of is the infinite principle which is within us, which is without us, it is outside, it is everywhere. And this self being infinite, it is there. So during sleep or during anesthesia, the self is not going to change whatsoever. What changes is our mind changes, our body changes. And whatever changes, so if the self is called Atma, the non-self, our body-mind complex is called Anatma. And what is affected during sleep and anesthesia is the Anatma component. Will that be the last question, Vibhaji?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes. Sure.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. It was a very interesting session.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Hari Om.